"We don't want to see your face at her graduation," my mom snapped during a family Zoom call. "Then you'll never see my money again," I replied, while quietly canceling the tuition plan and every credit card they used behind my back. She walked the stage. I walked away for good. My mother didn't lower her voice. She didn't flinch. She just stared at me through the frozen grid of our family Zoom call and said, "We don't want to see your face at her graduation." No pause, no hesitation. My sister smirked in her little square. My father looked away. And in that moment, every year, I'd carried them quietly, blindly snapped inside me. I didn't argue. I didn't ask why. I simply reached for the one thing they never expected me to take back. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me, where are you watching from? And be honest, what would you have done? My name is Amber, and for most of my life, I thought keeping the peace meant keeping quiet. I grew up in a family where love was measured in obligations, where the person who gave the most was expected to ask for the least. Lorraine, my mother, was the center of everything, the sun everyone else orbited. Victor, my father, stayed in her gravity without question. And Riley, my younger sister, bloomed in that warmth while I learned to live in the shade. I moved to Seattle in my 20s, chasing a career in finance tech and a version of independence I didn't yet understand. But even from 1,000 miles away, the family pattern never changed. It started the week I got my first job. Lorraine called, sounding proud and tired all at once. She said Riley's tuition bill had come in and asked if I could help just this once. I said yes before I even thought about it. By the end of that year, once had turned into every semester, every book, every off-campus expense she needed to thrive. Riley never thanked me. Lorraine stopped pretending it was temporary. Victor kept the peace by staying silent. And every time I hesitated, my mother would lace her voice with disappointment. The kind that made you feel ungrateful for even questioning. I remember one Christmas when I saved up and bought Riley a laptop so she could keep up with her courses. She unwrapped it, glanced at the screen and said, "Oh, I thought it was the higher model." Lorraine just laughed softly and said, "Maybe next year, sweetie." I swallowed the burn in my chest and told myself it didn't matter, but it did. All of it did. The message that finally cracked something in me came months later. Lorraine left her phone on the counter during a visit, and a text lit up from my aunt. "She pays because she's gullible. Let her," my mother replied with a smiley face and a single line. Some people were born to support the family. I never confronted her. I just carried the knowing like a bruise under clothing, and still I paid because I thought maybe if I stayed useful, I'd eventually feel like I belonged. So when that Zoom call opened, and I saw the familiar tightness in Lorraine's jaw, the practiced pity in Riley's eyes, I felt that old bruise throb. But I didn't yet know that this time, this one time, I wouldn't swallow it back. The days leading up to that Zoom call felt off, like the air before a storm. Riley had been quieter than usual, which never meant peace, only plotting. Lorraine sent me a string of clipped messages asking if the next cycle of tuition payments had processed. She didn't say please. She never did. I told myself it was normal, that helping was what I'd always done, but something in my chest felt tight, uneasy. The unease snapped into clarity when my bank flagged unusual activity. A calm voice explained that a card under my name, one I'd forgotten existed, had been used for several large purchases, designer shoes, a bracelet, a weekend shopping spree, totaling around $4,000. My stomach dropped. The card was supposed to be for groceries years ago. I hadn't touched it since. I knew before I called who had. Lorraine laughed when I brought it up. "You're being dramatic. Riley needed a few things for graduation. Don't ruin the moment." Ruin the moment, as if I was the one taking something from them. Later that night, still shaking, I checked my accounts. 2 more cards, both under my name, had been quietly maxed out. Payments I'd never approved. Subscriptions I'd never used. Each charge linked back to my family's address or one of Riley's accounts. My breath came shallow. This wasn't carelessness. This was expectation. Entitlement hardened into habit. And then came the final blow. A screenshot accidentally forwarded from Riley's group chat. My name at the top. Her message underneath, "Don't worry about money. Amber exists for that. She's basically our cash cow." I stared at that line for a long time, feeling something inside me go still. When the Zoom call opened the next evening, Their faces filled the screen like a panel of judges. Lorraine didn't waste a second. "We don't want to see your face at her graduation," she said, her voice clipped with authority. Riley sat smugly next to her, arms crossed like she'd earned the right to ban me. My throat tightened, but I kept my face calm. "Why?" Lorraine waved a hand. "This isn't about you. Don't make it about you. Riley needs a peaceful day." Riley added, "Yeah, you always make everything tense. Just stay home. It's better for everyone." Victor looked at the floor and said nothing. Once that kind of dismissal would have gutted me. I would have apologized, tried to fix whatever imagined problem they'd created. But the insult and the theft, the years of quiet taking, they clicked into place like a lock turning. My voice came out low, steady. "Then you'll never see my money again." Lorraine blinked as if the words didn't compute. Riley scoffed. But I meant every syllable. That sentence didn't just leave my mouth. It left a life I was done living. When the Zoom call ended, the apartment felt strangely quiet, as if the walls themselves were waiting to see what I would do. For the first time in years, I didn't rush to fix anything. I didn't replay their words searching for ways to smooth them over. I just sat there, letting the silence settle over me like a blanket I'd forgotten I owned. Then I opened my laptop. The screen's glow washed across my desk as I signed into the tuition portal. Riley's account sat there bright and expectant, one more semester pending, one more payment scheduled under my name. My fingers hovered for a moment, not trembling, just aware that this was the moment everything shifted. I canceled the plan, a single button, a quiet click, years of obligation dissolving in an instant. Next, I pulled up my bank dashboard. 3 cards tied to my identity, all with activity I never approved. Purchases linked to Riley's email, Lorraine's shipping address, or the family home. I froze each account one by one, the system chiming confirmations back at me. Then I removed the connected devices, Riley's phone, Lorraine's tablet, and updated the passwords they'd used for years without permission. The calm in my chest didn't feel like anger. It felt like clarity. After that, I went through payments, bills, and statements, creating a clean folder of evidence, not to weaponize, but to finally see the truth laid out plainly, every transaction, every assumption they'd made about my role in their lives. It wasn't support. It was entitlement dressed up as expectation. As I organized the files, I found an audio note I'd forgotten, recorded accidentally during a speaker call months ago, Lorraine's voice light and amused, Riley's laughter in the background. "She'll pay?" Lorraine said. "She always pays," Riley replied. Then a joke I'd never heard until now. "It's basically her purpose." I closed the file slowly, letting the words pulse through me, not to hurt me but to remind me that reality didn't match the version of family I'd been clinging to. My phone buzzed on the table. "Riley, did the payment go through? I can't see it." "Lorraine, don't be childish. Fix this." "Victor, just breathe. Don't make things worse." Worse. As if the worst thing I'd done was finally say no. I didn't respond. Instead, I logged out of every shared subscription, music streaming, grocery deliveries, anything tied to my accounts. The list was longer than I expected. I ended each one without hesitation. By the time I stood up, the sky outside had deepened into a soft navy blue. I felt lighter than I had in years, standing barefoot on the cold floor, breathing air that somehow tasted new. They thought cutting me out of a celebration would keep me small, but all it did was make room for me to finally step out. 3 days passed before Lorraine finally demanded another family meeting. The subject line of her email said urgent, but it was the kind of urgency people use when they've lost control, not when they're in danger. I clicked the Zoom link out of curiosity more than duty. A part of me wanted to see how far they'd push. Another part wanted to see how far I'd come. When the screen loaded, they were all already there. Lorraine sat in the center like she always did, perfectly framed, chin lifted as if she were presiding over something important. Riley lounged beside her, makeup, flawless, eyes tight with irritation instead of gratitude. Victor hovered near the back of the living room, hands in his pockets, looking smaller than I remembered. Finally, Lorraine snapped as if I were late. "We need to address your behavior." "My behavior?" "Of course." I said nothing. Silence was a new language for me when they didn't understand yet. She continued. "Riley's graduation is in less than 2 weeks. They won't let her walk unless the outstanding balance is paid. You know this. You've always handled it. So fix it. Riley rolled her eyes. I don't get why you're making this a big deal. You're the one with the career. Just do what you always do. There was a brief moment where I wondered if they truly didn't see it. The theft, the manipulation, the entitlement, or maybe they saw it all along and simply didn't care. That's when it clicked. The problem had never been their blindness. It had been my willingness. I'm not paying, I said calmly. Lorraine's lips curved into disbelief. Don't be ridiculous. You're angry, fine. But don't sabotage your sister out of spite. I'm not sabotaging her, I replied. I'm stepping out of a role I never agreed to play. Victor finally lifted his head. Let's not escalate. We can talk this through. Talk. I let out a soft breath. You never talk. You all tell. Riley scoffed loudly. This is so dramatic. You act like we've done something to you. I clicked a button on my screen. A window opened my folder. Payments, bills, statements, organized in quiet, damning rows. What is this? Lorraine demanded. The truth, I said. I shared my screen, letting the number speak first. The unauthorized purchases, the recurring charges, the cards linked to Riley's email. The shipping address is matching the family home. The grocery-only card used for luxury items. Riley's mouth tightened. Lorraine's face remained stiff, but a flicker of something, recognition or fear, passed through her eyes. Victor stepped closer to the camera. Amber, you could have just talked to us. I tried, I said softly. For years I clicked another file. The audio note played. Lorraine's voice echoed through all our speakers. She'll pay. Riley's laugh followed. She always pays. Then the line that had rooted itself in me like a splinter, it's basically her purpose. When the recording ended, no one spoke. Even Riley's performative confidence faltered. Lorraine found her voice first. I can't believe you recorded us. I didn't, I said. It was automatic, but I listened. Riley crossed her arms tightly. You're blowing this out of proportion. Proportion, I repeated. You stole my identity. You used my credit. You impersonated me to reinstate the tuition plan. The school emailed me about it. That landed hard. Riley's cheeks flushed red. That was a misunderstanding. It was fraud, I cut in, still calm. And I'm choosing not to press charges. For now. Lorraine's composure cracked. Charges against your own sister. What is wrong with you? What's wrong, I replied, is that you raised her to believe she could do it. Victor finally spoke, barely above a whisper. Amber, we didn't know it got this far. Yes, you did, I said. You just didn't want to stop it. Lorraine slammed her hand on the table. Enough, you are not destroying this family because of a few misunderstandings. Riley deserves her moment. You owe it to us too? I leaned forward, voice low and steady. I don't owe you anything. The sentence hit them like a physical force. Riley blinked rapidly. So you're just going to let me look stupid on graduation day? You're an adult, I said. Your education is your responsibility. Lorraine shook her head, furious. You've changed. This isn't you. No, I corrected her. This is me without your script. For a moment, the call fell into complete silence. The kind of silence that reveals everything words have tried to hide. Then Lorraine attempted one last tactic, her most familiar one. If you walk away now, don't expect this family to welcome you back. I felt the fear rise, the old conditioned panic of losing them. Then it faded, replaced by something stronger. I'm not walking away from family, I said. I'm walking away from people who never acted like mine. Riley stood up abruptly, knocking something over. You're selfish, ungrateful. You've always been jealous of me, jealous of the person who weaponized my generosity. It would have been funny if it hadn't been so sad. I hope someday, I said quietly, you understand the difference between support and exploitation. Lorraine glared at me as if hate alone could force compliance. You'll regret this. Maybe once I would have, but not now. I already did my regretting, I replied. I'm done. I hovered over the leave meeting button. Their faces blurred into a single desperate tableau. Anger, confusion, fear, all tangled into the same expression they'd worn every time their control slipped. For the first time, I didn't shrink. I wish you well, I said softly. but I'm finished being the one who pays for your peace." Then I clicked the button. The screen went dark. The call ended, and for the first time in my life, something began. In the weeks that followed, the echo of that call settled into a strange quiet. No more demands. No more guilt-laced messages. Just silent, sharp at first, then oddly peaceful. The first real update came from the university, a polite notice confirming that due to unresolved payments, and an attempted impersonation on the account, Riley would not be permitted to participate in the ceremony. They didn't mention my name, but the implication was clear. Someone had finally told her no. I didn't celebrate, I didn't gloat. I just sat in my Seattle apartment, sunlight slipping across the hardwood floor, and let the weight of 8 years lift off my shoulders. A few days later, Victor showed up unannounced. He stood in the lobby like a man who wasn't sure he'd be allowed in. When I opened the door, he didn't try to hug me. He just looked tired. "She's devastated," he said. "Your mother, she's pretending everything's fine, but it's not. We didn't realize how much we leaned on you." I didn't argue, I didn't soothe him. I simply said, "You leaned because I never stepped aside." He nodded slowly. "Are you coming back?" I shook my head. "Not unless the terms change." He didn't try to change my mind. Maybe for the first time he understood. He left with a quiet goodbye that didn't feel like an ending, just a shift. And for once, the silence he left behind felt like mine. I used to believe family meant endurance, that loving them meant letting myself be drained. But the day they told me I wasn't welcome, I finally understood love without respect isn't love at all. So I walked away quietly, fully, for good. And in that space, I found something I'd been missing my whole life: myself. If any part of my story echoes yours, share it in the comments and subscribe so you don't face it alone.